Hello and welcome to Vergecast, the flagship podcast of affectionate intelligence.
Aw.
Yeah,
That's so nice.
It's really cute.
That's how I describe you most of the time.
Just an all-knowing, kind of cuddly intelligence. Affectionate intelligence is how LG is branding its AI washing machines. So they don't have, you go to the LG booth.
Yeah.
LG makes everything.
Yes.
And so here's our washing machines. Here's our little robot guy, and all the AI stuff is affectionate intelligence.
Because it's AI.
'Cause
Yeah.
it's AI.
It's also AI.
It's
Yeah.
like instead of personal intelligence.
It's not like ChatGPT, which will lie to you and then try to bang you. This is much more.
It's just gonna make sure your sweaters are dry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Little fluff.
I've given
LG
up on
has
the
a
smart
little
home.
robot. So we should LG and Samsung both have little robots.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Ballie because David and I both got to see Ballie in action. The LG robot is so silly. Like they're not even pretending that this will be a real product.
It doesn't even have arms.
Yeah, it's just like a little thing that walks around and makes squeaky noises at you.
It's cute.
It is very cute. We're sitting here at the Kia Connected Home, right in front of the show floor at CES. I'm your friend Neeli. David Pierce is here.
Hi.
Alex Kranz is here.
Hey.
The Verge team is everywhere across the
Yes.
show floor. If you are on our site or you're on TikTok or whatever, you've seen we've got reporters everywhere. They're making themselves sick at laser shows. It has been quite an experience here at CES. I would say it's been a good show.
It has been
Yeah.
a good show. It's been, I would say, not as like full of wildness as CES sometimes
Yeah.
is. Like there are very few sort of bonkers, off the wall, new things as there sometimes are. But in terms of like actual cool things that might be actually cool in the actual world, like it's
Yeah.
been pretty good.
Yeah.
There's more here than I expected, actually.
Yeah, and it's a lot of iteration has occurred.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you can like slap chat GPT on it. And this test I always use at CS is the local news test. Like how ridiculous is CS by how many things break through the barrier of local news
Oh,
programming.
that's good.
And the one that I always remember, the baseline product for this test is the year there was the smart fork.
Oh, God.
And it would tell
Yep.
you if you were eating too fast.
Yep.
It didn't actually work.
No.
But poor Joanna Stern was at ABC at the time.
Yeah.
And so she was just like on every local news broadcast in America being like, it's a smart fork. There's not a lot of smart fork at CES.
There was so much enthusiasm for the smart fork.
There was.
Like it was such earnest belief that this was a good idea. That just these were simpler
But
times.
that's how I measure CES.
Right.
Is like is there garbage that breaks through to the local news or is there meaningful technology that is and like there's a lot of meaningful technology. There's a little bit of local news garbage.
This
You
year
gotta
it's
have a
the
little bit of
e-ink
local
toilet,
news.
right?
I think
Yeah,
it's
the
the
e-ink toilet,
Yeah.
the sort of transparent display situation.
Yeah.
But there is, you should watch the video. Gen Tui went and looked at an e-ink toilet from Kohler. You get the feeling Kohler has like maybe more R&D money than it knows what to do with.
Kohler, have you
Just a
been to
little.
Kohler's booth?
I have not yet been.
Kohler's booth has all kinds of stuff, and then I don't know, 15 just running showers,
Yeah.
all going into like a pond. There's
But
just a
it's soothing.
pond.
It's very soothing. Like you walk into
Yeah.
it and you're like, oh, I'm in a little garden.
Look,
to
I'm
take a
from
bath.
Wisconsin. Where
It's
Kohler
bizarre.
literally owns a company town called Kohler, Wisconsin. I wish Kohler nothing but the best. Pump some of that water back into the local economy, if you know what I'm saying. But every year, Kohler's like, this time the toilet has more technology
Yes.
in it. It's pretty great. Okay, so I think we're going to break the show up into 3 segments. If you watched our earlier show this week, David's Gambit was the screens show. And this is meant to be the not screens show.
Despite the fact that many of the things we're going to talk
Almost
about have
everything
screens.
we're going to talk about has
Listen.
screens here.
It's
My
in some way
methodology is
related.
not to be
But
questioned.
it's products that are screen products.
Yeah, that are like about the screens.
And then this show is all the products that are products that have
I mean,
screens.
we have e-ink toilets now. Like everything has screens. We wrote stories about headphone cases that have screens on them now. Like
Yeah.
you just cannot avoid screens anymore. But they're like not the point of the thing.
Right.
They're just like one of the gadgets we're going to talk about.
They're there to show you ads.
Literally, the question was, "Why did you put a screen on this?" And his answer was, "Screens are cheap." That's literally what it was. And so it's like, this just screens are cheap and they're everywhere.
Okay. So we're going to talk about some gadgets. Then we should talk about a bunch of standards that hit pretty important moments at the show.
Which actually kind of is the story
Yeah.
of CES this year. It's like there are big standards that are going to start to be everywhere that are like here in a really meaningful way.
Yeah, like Wi-Fi 7 had a moment. Thunderbolt 5 is here. There's a bunch of smart home stuff. Alex had an ATSC 3.0 adventure, which
It was
is pretty good.
wonderful. It's magic.
And then we should talk about some cars because there's tons of CS always has tons and tons of cars at it, and we should just go through all the car names. Well, let's start with gadgets, and I want to start, David, with what is undeniably the breakout gadget hit of the show, which you have seen and talked to the founder of, the Rabbit R1.
This thing came out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah.
And I think probably has been the most talked about single device of the show. It's either that or the transparent TVs. So this thing is basically, it's just dedicated AI hardware, right? It's like if you've ever seen the Panic Playdate, that little console with the crank, it feels just like that. It's like colorful and orange. It has a button on the side and a camera and a scroll wheel. And it was made by Teenage Engineering, and so it's like lovely and all the buttons feel really good. But the shtick is it's an AI gadget. And this company, Rabbit, which has kind of an interesting history, its founder has worked on AI stuff for a really long time. He's on the board of Teenage Engineering, so he's like connected to this world. They built this whole big new thing where instead of a large language model like ChatGPT, which is fundamentally about like you input something and you get text back, this is about like doing stuff, right? So their idea is you should be able to say, I want to accomplish any goal. I want to listen to music. I need a ride here. Order me something. Book me flights on something, whatever. And have it all be like accomplishable with all of the services you use, but inside of what amounts to an assistant. 1 million billion unanswered questions about that. But it's $199. It's a like adorable little gadget. And the two questions, well, I should say that differently. The two reactions that everybody seems to have are either this thing doesn't do anything that my phone doesn't do. Why on earth would I want it? And this thing doesn't do anything my phone doesn't do. And oh my God, I want it so bad.
That's me.
It is very cute.
Yeah.
I think people are just reacting to the idea that they could purchase a gadget. The questions are just infinite.
Yes.
Like, for example, it's $200.
Mm-hmm.
There's no recurring fee, right? There's no subscription service. This thing can't be making money. Like, just from the jump, it's like
it seems impossible.
They have to run a cloud service. There's no way that they're making enough money on the upfront sale to run the cloud service.
They had to pay like Teenage Engineering to do all the design work. Like,
another question I have, and I encourage everyone to go watch this. They put it out in what is can only be described as a fake Apple keynote.
Oh, very much so.
He's standing there on a stage. I don't know if there's an audience, but
can I actually describe the scene to you because it's very funny. So this wasn't on the show floor. It was kind of a secret thing. Like I found out about it from like a relatively sketchy email that was just like, we're launching the future of everything. And I was like, well, all right, like I got it. We'll just find out. It was deep. I mean, deep, like a 1.5 mile walk from the front door of the Wynn to this like tiny little meeting room in the back of the Wynn where this keynote was. And it was set up, it was like in a ballroom. And, on the one side you have tables for people to stand out and coffee and stuff. And on the other side, maybe 4 rows of seats, and then this big screen and Jesse Liu, the founder, standing in front of that. And that's where they shot the whole thing. And it looks so polished and so professional. And it's literally just him standing in a casino ballroom talking in front of a screen. It was very impressive.
Yeah. So that's the experience you had. The experience I had was what appears to be a pre-produced version of the presentation you were given,
which now that I'm looking at it is even more Apple-y than the thing.
Right. It looks like a fake Apple keynote. That's the introducing R1 video on their channel.
Right.
And the thing about this that caught me, and I'm wondering if you saw this in action, is in the video, he's like asks it to do something, and you look at the animation of the rabbit jumping, which is adorable, but you never actually see it do the thing.
Right.
He's like, success. And you're like, what happened? But you like held it and got to use it. Did it work?
Yes and no. Well, I did get to hold it. It did work, but we were on horrible hotel Wi-Fi, which I can vouch for being horrible.
Yeah.
So it kind of came and went in terms of actually being able to do anything at all. And obviously a device like this can't do much offline, period, because everything it's doing is happening in the cloud. So after about 10 minutes of everybody sort of playing with it, getting to try stuff, he literally like disconnected it and just was handing it around to people. But at one point, it rickrolled somebody. Somebody was holding it in
That's
their
pretty
hand, and Never Gonna Give You Up started playing. And
That's
I think
pretty
that
good.
might have been when they took it offline for good.
They're like, no, we're done.
But-
That's how it reacts to losing its connection. It's like,
Yeah.
you're going to like this.
So again, like added to the list of unanswered questions about this thing is like, does it actually work? Because I think you're right, and a bunch of people had this reaction of like, you see him talk into it, clever cut, you see it work, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
And what does it do? Like
who
I keep
knows?
trying to understand that.
Okay, so I have,
Okay.
I'm just going to say my ideas, and then David
Okay.
can tell me from right
Okay.
How's that? That's how it's structured is. Because I don't think David actually knows.
I think I bet I know slightly more than you, but only slightly.
So my understanding of this is that it is using the apps for you.
Right.
And this is not a new idea.
Yeah.
If you are a Decoder listener, we've had like robotic process automation episodes where big enterprises basically bring in computers to use their old computers for them. And like these are big companies that do this work. And that's at the corporate level, it's enterprise. That this is a known thing. We're going to use some machine learning and some computer vision, and we're going to use Windows 3.1 instead of updating the hospital building system.
Right.
It's a real thing that happens. There was a company called Cavo that I loved ages ago.
Yeah, we talked
And
about
they
it
were-
last week.
And they were going to do machine vision to like click around on your TV interface for you.
Right.
They failed. It didn't go well, as we talked about last week.
Yeah.
But not because you can't do it technically. Like
But-
it is a possible thing to do.
It is a
Yeah.
thing you can do.
Yeah.
So this gadget, the hardware seems less important than whatever is happening in the cloud.
Yes. Oh, very
Right?
much so.
The hardware is just like a little bitty cute thing you can ask questions of.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in the cloud, it appears they're spinning up like Android virtual machines that have your Spotify app or whatever on it.
Right.
And then it's clicking around on a little Android phone, like a virtual Android phone in the cloud, and then delivering you the result
Onto the little
onto
guy.
the little thing.
So that is also, I think, my understanding of like the most likely way for it to work. What that doesn't do is jive at all with what Rabbit says about privacy, which is that it doesn't store your credentials.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
there's like a total disconnect there that I just don't understand. And what I do know is they have this training mode where you can like teach Rabbit how to do something for you. Like one of the examples Jesse, the CEO, gives is how to remove a watermark from Photoshop. And the way that you do it is you literally go into Rabbit Hole, which is like their adorably named portal for getting into
Really
all of your
good.
apps. It's very
Good
good.
name.
Like the whole branding of this is excellent. You go into it and you, like you said, you boot up a virtual Windows machine, you load Photoshop, and this is all like Rabbit's computers, not yours, right?
Yeah.
So you load up Photoshop and then you narrate aloud what you're doing as you're teaching the model how to do it. So you go through the process and you say, and then you go over here and you select the lasso, and then you select you lasso around the watermark, and then you click this and that and that, and you remove the watermark. And that's how you train the model. So in terms of like how to actually interact with the underlying model, your metaphor is exactly right. Then what happens after that,
Yeah.
I do not know. Because like once I give it my Spotify credentials, Rabbit says unambiguously that it does not then keep my Spotify credentials. And I have no idea how it can
At
not
some
do
point,
that.
it just has to
Yeah,
have
yeah,
a
like-
token to log into Spotify
Right.
on your behalf, right?
Are we sure it's absolutely going to be in the cloud, or is it going to be in the cloud then talking to your phone and in the cloud talking to your laptop?
It's not talking to your devices. That I know for sure.
Right. But do they have a rack of like mid-range Android phones?
Yeah.
Maybe with like hot dog fingers just banging away on them.
Like Beeper's thing with the Mac Minis getting
Yeah.
into your iMessages. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just a big question I have about this
Yeah.
whole product, right? Which is, it sounds really cool. What if you had an assistant that could use a computer for you?
Right.
Yeah.
Very good,
Yeah.
right? And you don't have to re-architect all these apps and services. You don't need Adobe's permission, maybe. Big
Yeah.
question mark there. But you have a computer in the cloud. It's loaded up with legal apps and services. Who knows? It's not Alex's Plex server. It's a
Yeah.
computer in the cloud.
Right.
And a robot's going to click around on it for you and then do the work for you.
And that just means that that just can't work with the privacy claims.
Right.
Yeah, it's very difficult to
And they're
square
also
that with
very
it.
clear about the privacy claims. Like they're either just boldly lying or there is some clever turn that we don't know yet and they're not really talking about yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not, they're not doing the like, sketchy sort of deflect when you ask questions. Like, no, they're
Just dead
very
ahead.
straightforward about like, we do not store your stuff.
So
And I'm like, how?
I'll do the same sort of exercise as we did with the humane AI pin.
Yeah.
Right. You're like, here's the demo. So one of the demos was Spotify music,
Yeah.
right? Okay. To make that work, they need your Spotify credentials. Then they've got to log into Spotify somewhere, somehow.
Uh-huh.
We don't know where or how. We don't know if they have a virtual Android computer or virtual Windows computer. We don't know how your $200 one-time payment is paying for that server cost.
Right.
That's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Then they've logged into Spotify. Their large action model has clicked around Spotify and found the song you want from the artist you want, which even Spotify's search is not great at.
Correct.
So there's a
Yeah.
whole problem there, right? It's going to navigate the Spotify interface, which is more and more geared towards like, what if you listen to a podcast?
Yeah.
Right. So like two different computers are going to
Yeah.
be hostile to each other in that specific way. Then it's going to stream the audio from Spotify. Spotify's audio is DRM to hell and back because it's a streaming service. So now it's accepting a DRM audio stream, and then it's going to send it to your Rabbit. It's going to send it to
guess.
your headphones. That little transcoding step where it rebroadcasts the DRM audio is, I would call
Trouble.
it a pickle,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if you will.
I think there's just like a vague whiff of vapor
You
to
think so?
this thing. Like it just there's too many things where it's like, no, that doesn't compute. That's not how
that's
computers.
good. Yeah, that's good.
This is just not how computers work. This is just not how like any of these services work. How? And the fact that they're not saying how, but they do have this really gorgeous hardware.
Well,
like,
so I do think the how, it's not such a leap, the how,
okay.
right? Because machine vision to operate a computer interface has been deployed in other contexts.
Right.
The thing that gets me is the cost.
No,
right.
it's the cost.
Like if you call
privacy.
Microsoft to come do a big RPA integration in your healthcare system, that is millions of dollars.
yes.
It is not $200.
Yes. One-time payment of $200.
One-time payment of $200. Like that, I'm just dying to know. And then they sold, which is to their credit, they sold vastly more than they thought they were going to sell. They sold out of their first run of 10,000 units in a day, maybe hours even.
Yeah.
So they've just signed up to run a pretty large set of 10,000 virtual machines at least.
Yeah. And we used to see that a lot in the Kickstarter days.
Yeah.
And then eventually you'd get an email saying, my bad.
Yeah.
And I like this has that kind of feeling to me because the privacy situation and the cost are two things like you need to explain. There's a big missing piece here and you haven't disclosed it. And I kind of need to understand that, even though I would 100% have spent $200 on it if I'd gotten in. Like,
They're going to open up another round.
yeah,
which
like the
makes them seem
hardware
very
itself,
confident.
I'm like, I just want to
Yeah,
play with
I
that.
love a teenage engineering device.
Yeah, like that's pretty cheap
And
for
they say they're
teenage
shipping
engineering.
like to everybody in March. Like this is
Right. 'cause
by all
again,
accounts,
Yeah.
their version of this thing is like ready.
yeah.
Yeah, and again, I think to Alex's point, like the how of it's not like other people couldn't have come up with this idea. I think their challenges are, does it actually work? Is it brittle or is it really
Right.
flexible? Right? If Spotify changes the interface, will it actually survive that? Photoshop moves some buttons around. Will it survive that? That's got to run on Windows, by the way. They're running Photoshop on like an Android phone, like a mid-range Android phone with a hot dog.
Well,
finger hand.
I mean, they could be using like Azure, or they could be using AWS, right? Like
Cost after cost after cost.
Yes.
right?
Totally. Yeah, I'm just like, can I just read you a few sentences from their privacy webpage, which is actually like a useful summary of everything we've been talking about. So it says, when you interact with RabbitOS, you will be assigned a dedicated and isolated environment on our cloud for your own large action model, which more or less
Yeah.
Yeah.
jives with
You
what
get
you were
a
talking
virtual
about.
machine.
When our rabbits perform tasks for you, they will use your own accounts that you have securely granted us control over through our Rabbit Hole web portal. We do not store your passwords for these services. I literally don't see how those two sentences can both be true.
Because you don't need the password persistently.
yeah,
You need it for like a second to get the auth token.
True if you're running Spotify's API, not if you're logging in on a new machine that I'm spinning up every single time.
No, but it says you have access to a machine. They're giving you a little cloud computer that is yours.
For these 10,000 people who bought $200 Rabbit R1s, they also bought a computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I'm asking.
That doesn't make any sense.
I mean,
Right,
that's
like,
what it sounds like. Like, it sounds like they're saying, we personally aren't going to have like your code everywhere. Instead, our cloud, like your little cloud computer that we manage is going to have it.
Right.
And a little splitting hairs there. Rabbit
Yeah.
joke.
Well, and this is why if you're a lot of these companies, you try to build a thing where you can tap into APIs. Like there are lots of ways to interact with Spotify not through Spotify, right?
Yeah.
Because Spotify has open APIs for this stuff, and you can plug in, and they do a good job of the authentication tokens. Rabbit is explicitly going a different direction.
Yeah. So Spotify is a good example because it is a very simple. You could put the Spotify API on this device, run it
Right.
locally.
Spotify will happily let you do this
Here's
thing
a
that
little
it's
Linux
describing.
computer.
Yeah.
It's going to ping Spotify and
Right.
stream something. Maybe that's what they're doing.
Every smart speaker is that.
Right. And they're cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you go to the second most complicated example. Like I said, I'm just running this down the way that we ran down Humane.
Yeah.
Because obviously Humane is the thing that people are going to compare this to. Humane, by the way, which laid off 4% of its staff this week.
Yeah.
And tried to play some games with Alex Heath when he wrote that story. Pretty shady, Humane. Anyway.
Not great.
Not great.
So, the other example was booking a flight,
Yep.
which is easily the most complicated thing you can do
Yes.
with a computer. And when I talk about hostile interfaces,
Oh, yeah.
the interfaces to book a flight are openly hostile to you. Like all over the place, all the time. Prices are changing. It's unclear what you're buying. The door might fall off the plane. It's just a real hard time in air travel. This thing has to go, you say, like, book me a flight to Seattle. This thing has to go find a website to do that on. Then it has
to understand a vast amount about your preferences and
Yep.
what you want and what you fly and what seats. Like the amount it has to know about you before it even starts the rest of this process.
Right.
Is really complicated.
And if you are a United person and I'm a Delta person and you
American.
are American,
Yeah.
it's rough.
Yeah.
That's three entirely different websites for the large
Right.
action model to understand and be able to navigate. And then it has to condense those into a coherent response that works on the interface of the Rabbit.
Yeah.
And the airlines, by the way, hate this and always have.
Yes.
Like they just don't want there to be a layer of abstraction over their websites. They don't like it. And then it has to actually do a good job of booking you a flight.
Right.
And it has to have your credit card so it can pay.
And your frequent flyer miles, your like preferred seat area, like, do you want first class? It's a lot that's got to do.
I don't know. I love this thing. It seems like we're gonna get one soon.
Yeah, I think sooner rather than later, we'll start to get a real idea of what this thing actually is.
But I'm just saying, like, if you just like run the examples, just how would you do this?
Yeah.
Just step by step.
In a funny way, I would be more bullish on this thing if it was $400 than I am at $200.
I'd be more bullish if it was $200 with a $29 a month.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair.
It's like subscription fee
Yeah.
or something.
Right.
Because at least I would understand the economics. At $200 flat, it's like there's a part of me believes they started this company, they got all this interest, and then we're sitting right next to the Google booth here at the Kia Connected Home. They're going to sell it to Google in a year because there's so much interest in AI, and then Google will shut it down in 2 years.
This thing running Bard would be so much less exciting.
Like that, I don't understand the economics of this service, but it is very exciting. It looks very cool. I understand people are excited.
And it is like a whole thought about AI, which I
Yeah.
appreciate. Like they built a thing that is like a full vision, and I think that's cool.
And it is
Yeah.
bringing some tech that we have seen in the enterprise context to consumers. So I think I have more
Yeah.
faith.
That's
It's not
fair.
100% faith. It's like 5% more faith than you, Alex.
Yeah, yeah. Like the hardware is so, and the concept is so good. Execution, I'm just like, no.
Yeah.
And I want it to work. I want this all to work. I would love a $200, no additional fees, just like does everything for me. That's magic. That sounds great, but that's magic, and generally magic is not real. So,
Well, I went to the Sphere last night.
oh, sorry.
Dave and I went to the Sphere. Boy, I'm in love with the Sphere.
Yeah.
There should be a Sphere in every town in America.
We can see it from here. It's beautiful.
It is better farther away than up close.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
And then even inside in the screen, you can see lines. And like,
You're like, ugh,
I was like, there's dead pics.
it's not IMAX.
And then also we did not see U2. We saw
Yeah.
Darren Aronofsky's Postcard from Earth, which is just the weirdest thing you can see if you are sober.
Oh,
There were people there who were not sober who were like, yes.
Yeah, that feels like a shrooms event.
Yeah. That's a real Adam and Eve allegory. Like at the end of it, like they get off. I'm going to spoil Postcard from Earth. It's fine. It's mostly a reason to show you like videos of elephants. It's going to be fine. At the end of it, the Adam and Eve get off their spaceship and the voices are like, you are here for a reason. The reason is obviously to bang and populate the planet they're on. Like it's like very obvious what the reason is. It's good.
It's a love story.
You should go to Earth, which humanity has left in this. Okay, Liam is telling me I gotta wrap this up. I love the sphere. There's, like the water tower in your town. If you're in a town in America with a water tower, go to your local town meeting and be like, we should turn our water tower into a sphere.
Yes.
Just a huge.
It's only going to cost $2.3 billion.
Probably.
Don't worry about hail. You'll be fine.
Say, it was not full last night. It was, in fact, mostly empty.
Yeah.
Oh.
But is that because people, like I was just like magnetically drawn to the screen. Regardless of what was on the screen, I would have been happy. Postcard from Earth, I think, is not drawn a crowd.
No.
Anyhow. All right, we got to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about some gadgets. We're going to talk about some standards. CES, day 2 at the Vergecast. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. Vergecast, day 2 at CES, the Kia Connected Home. It's actually like CES day 4. It's just the second Vergecast.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for 15 years, and I still have no idea how to number any of these things.
No.
Yeah.
We've been here for 8 days. It's CES day 3.
Yeah.
None of it makes any sense.
I spent the whole day thinking it was Friday.
The only thing that makes sense is the sphere, David. The giant,
Trust in the
ridiculous
sphere.
spectacle. When you walk into the sphere, oh my God. Like the lobby of the sphere is like bathed in blue light. There's like bad robots talking about the future at you, and you're like, oh, you just made like an Epcot center. Like you went to the warehouse of old Epcot technologies.
Do you ride on a little train and get to see like the cavemen?
No, they ran out of money well before that happened.
Yeah. That's what the postcard from Earth is supposed to be, I guess.
Yeah, right. The spaceship Earth where you go up.
Yeah.
Right.
No, there's a definite vibe at the sphere where you're like, well, this is where they ran out of money. Like, they built the screen and they're like, this carpet.
Just porta potties everywhere.
If you are in Vegas, please, if you're listening to this and you ever come to Vegas, you just go look at the screen. It is an insane screen. Don't look at Postcard from Earth, I think is what I would say.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I think Fish is coming like in
There you
April. Go see Fish.
That's
the move.
That's appropriate.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very good.
Actually, speaking, we got to talk about standards. There's a bunch of standards news here at CES. But speaking of just screen mishaps, you and I both saw Samsung Ballie demos.
Poor Ballie.
And we saw
Ballie
different
had a tough week.
mishaps. What was yours? Well, first tell people what Ballie is.
So Ballie is the sort of little rolling home robot that Samsung is making. We saw it last year, and we saw a new version of it this year. And its new thing is basically it's a robot assistant projector.
Yeah.
So
last year had no projector.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this year the demo is actually sort of convincing. It's like this little thing that will follow you around, and you're like, oh, I'm doing a workout, and it'll project your workout on the wall. And then he went to do sit-ups, and so it started projecting the workout on the ceiling. And I was like, that's awesome. And it can make calls for you. It knows your schedule. It's just like it's a little adorable smart speaker that just kind of like ambles around your house. Like, I'm into it. I love it. The demo I saw, so they were doing these as shows, like once an hour. It was like Ballie will appear. And Ballie comes out. They do the first half of the demo. It's going fine. And then Ballie is supposed to, I believe the first time it went wrong, Ballie was supposed to make a phone call. And what Ballie is supposed to do is project the phone call like up on the wall so you can see who you're talking to, whatever. Ballie projected it upside down and about 3 inches off the ground. So all you could see was the word like flower shop upside down on the wall. And then Ballie went around to try and, help him see his calendar upside down and teeny tiny. And then for the last part of the demo, rolls it back over to the wall, and the guy's like, oh, show me what's in my fridge so I can decide what to make. Leaving aside that his fridge is literally
standing in front of the fridge
next to him. Yeah, like he could have reached out with his left hand and opened the fridge, and instead he's like, Ballie, what's inside the fridge? Ballie projects nothing on the wall. It's just nothing. And this poor guy who clearly has a script to follow stands there and he goes, so I have some apples. And that was the moment that like the panic level among all the Samsung employees just started to spike, and the demo ended very quickly after that.
Yeah.
It's over. I saw the same Ballie show. I thought the Call the Flower Shop demo was very fun. It's just in the same way we were talking about the rabbit. He's like, what's on my calendar? And Ballie shows a calendar. It's like, it's your anniversary. And he's like, okay, call the flower shop. and he just says call the flower shop. And if you've ever done a search in your life,
Yeah.
that is not a thing you can just instruct any assistant to
There's
do.
not a thing on Google Maps called the flower shop. Yeah.
It's like 10,000 sponsored listings later. And then he calls the flower shop. He makes a phone call. And like, this is, it's a demo. It's fake, but whatever. But he's like, I need a dozen roses. And like, coming right your way. And they hang up. I was like, that's not how that works
Nope.
at all. And then he's like, I'm going to make dinner. He does the Apple thing. And then in mine, the mishap was he went to go watch a cooking video. And Ballie was
I didn't even get that far.
He shut yours down. Mine, he was like, I'm going to do some cooking. And it was supposed to project it above the kitchen sink. But Ballie missed and presented it teeny tiny on the side of the cabinet. And he just kept going as though that wasn't happening.
Just keep like looking down, double checking all your instructions.
It's very good. I love the idea of Ballie. I think it would be very fun to have a little projector that follows you around showing you things.
My favorite thing about it was every time he would ask it a question, it would project little arrows on the ground. Telling you, like, follow me over to this wall so I can show you. And it was great. And he's just, like, chasing this little ball around the living room. It was so good.
The workout demo. Did this happen? It sounds like your demo was much higher stakes than mine. Mine mostly went fine. The workout demo, he's like, it's time for my workout. And he's, like, stretching. And he's standing in front of a television.
Yeah.
And instead, Ballie rolled to the left of the television, projected the workout video on the wall next to the TV, which everyone has, just a wide blank wall next to the TV.
Same.
And then just insisted on making us watch Meghan Trainor video on the television. It's like, this isn't what I want at all. I don't want this experience.
Yes.
It's very good. All right, so that's Ballie. It was good.
It's cute.
It's cute.
Yeah.
All right, we should talk about some standards. So lots of smart home stuff happening at CES, e-ink toilets, clumsy projector robots, what have you. Let's start with just some smart home stuff. So Jen Tui is here, our smart home reviewer. She's killing it as always.
Yep.
Basic stuff. So Matter and Thread are always a big deal. At CES, we're into year 35 of trying to make Matter a thing. It's going to happen this year.
This year's for sure. The
big news around Matter is that Matter is supposed to work with a wireless standard called Thread. Thread is built into all kinds of things now. The iPhone 15 Pro has a Thread radio in it for totally mysterious reasons. But the Apple TV has it. The Nest Hubs have it. The issue is that Thread is supposed to form a low-power mesh network in your house. So you get an Apple TV, you've got a Thread device, you get a Nest Hub, you get an Eero. They all sort of form one pretty good, resilient Thread network. And up until yesterday, the specification did not allow that to happen.
Right.
Yes.
So instead, they would all create
their own
competing little networks.
Yeah. And you would have like this fight. Like my Eero has a different Thread network running in my house than my Apple TV. And I just shut the Thread radios off my Eero because this is useless.
Yeah.
That is bad because there's more Eeros in my house than Apple TVs. And so that should just be the good network.
Right.
But you can't pass the credit. It's like all just mess. So the news here at TS is that the Thread Group, which definitely sounds like a consulting company that Jason Bourne works for, they've murdered a number of high-value targets, and they've also released a specification that lets all of those devices pass credentials to one another, which Jen specifically has been saying is the thing that needs to happen.
Yeah.
Nothing is shipped with it yet. It's a software update. They've all got to do it. But this is some like baseline spec news at CS that I think is very important because it's going to get you to the place where you, in your house, you have a Wi-Fi network for high power usage, high data usage, and a Thread network for smart locks and light switches. We'll see.
Fingers crossed. As someone who relies on a Thread network.
What's in a Thread
network? The light for the entryway so I can climb up the stairs at night.
Whoa.
At my apartment. I like to be able to see.
Yeah.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't work, and I'm like, okay, cool.
I've got the Schlage door locks on a Thread network with the Apple TV.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I just like knowing it's on a
Just
different
feels
network
good.
than the Wi-Fi. I'm like, these batteries last 30% longer. Nailed it. These were more expensive than the other smart locks. Then there's a bunch of just sort of like basic stuff, standards-wise, as it comes to smart homes. So with Matter is extending. It's going to do robot vacuums this year. It just keeps getting bigger. And then dear sweet Amazon announced that instead of using Chromecast or AirPlay, it will now support casting content from Prime Video with Matter. which no one else supports.
Nope.
It's one of those things that it's like, if we had all decided to do this a long time ago,
Yeah.
the world would be a better place. Like
Yeah.
this, it is patently absurd that you have 11 different technologies just to send a thing from your phone to your television.
Yeah.
But like we're out on that one. And so now we're
it's
in
like
the
people
like,
who are like Dvorak keyboards are better than QWERTY. And it's
right.
like, that's great
It's
for you.
irrelevant.
man.
Yeah.
I don't care
That's
anymore.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should put the accelerator on the left.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should have done that in 1915, but we didn't.
Yeah, exactly. And so now you have yet another way to send Prime Video to things.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure tons of people do all the
But so
time.
Amazon makes its own TVs.
Yeah.
They can insist on it.
Really popular set-top box too.
Really, yeah, the Fire
Like,
TV is popular.
I want to joke about this thing a lot, but also Amazon's like right behind Roku with one of the most popular,
Yeah.
like set-top situations. So
I'm excited for Andy Jassy to have the meeting with Tim Cook where he's like, we'd love for you to support Matter casting on the iOS. I don't think that's going to happen.
I just assume he'll close his laptop.
Tim Cook just
Nope.
puts on his Vision Pro. He's like, I am on the top of a volcano now, sir.
Just puts on the screensaver thing on the outside. It's like, I'm
His
done.
eyes are
This
just
meeting's
blank.
over.
Just looking into Tim Cook's dead virtual eyes while he just disassociates from this conversation.
That's exactly what's
That
going to happen.
sounds about right. Similar note, LG is supporting Google Cast. This is a big announcement. Samsung is not.
This is
Very
the
good.
silliest thing.
Yeah.
Like, so Google has nearby share. I'm like, there's a 100% chance I'm going to get all these names wrong. Google has nearby share. Samsung has quick share. Google is now renaming nearby share to quick share and just giving it to Samsung.
Yeah, and they're just going to put them
And
together.
then LG is just off to the side being like, we don't have any of this anymore.
We don't make phones, but we're going to use Google Cast on our TVs. Samsung is like, we're partnering with Google on Quick Share, but we're not going to put Google Cast on. It's just a mess. Like, this
Yeah.
whole thing is a mess, which is why basically AirPlay 2 continues to be the thing
So
that
good.
people like gravitate to, and then
Yeah.
Google Cast is the thing that on Android thing people gravitate to.
Yep.
Except for Amazon Prime Video. And then lastly, just on smart home gadgets, we still live in a world of hubs and bridges. They're inescapable. But a thing that's happening is they're all kind of converging, and the idea that you will have just one kind of main hub
Thank God.
in your house. It's not quite there yet, but Aquera, which is sort of an upstart smart home company. I've got Aquera smart locks, is in addition to my Slage super expensive thread ones for no reason. They're very good. They go on sale they're
I use
constantly on sale.
their motion sensors. They're great.
Yeah, and they're a really interesting company. They got an interesting proximity sensor, but they've got a new hub, the Hub M3. We've been talking about it for a year or more. It's a Zigbee hub for all of the Aquera Zigbee devices. It's also a Thread border router, and it is a Matter controller if you want to be a Matter thing. So this is the thing that should be able to control like hue lights and Eve shades and work with your Nest thermostat.
And not require you to use Home Assistant, because Home Assistant has a similar hub, but it requires you to use Home Assistant, and a lot of people aren't as nerdy
A lot
as
of
myself.
Home Assistant stands are about to get real mad at you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm one of you. I use Home Assistant. I love it. I have the Home Assistant Yellow, but like a lot of people don't want that. They want
this
something
is
a
the
little more
like
turnkey.
non-sick hacker version.
Yeah,
If it works.
If
I
it
just want
works.
to point out,
Yeah.
Thread and Matter, like every year at CES, we track, like, okay, there's a bunch of smart home products. These standards are growing. The big companies are still all over the place with things like, as simple as like, I'm watching a video on my phone, I want it on TV.
yeah.
Still a mess, right? Like, still fundamentally a mess unless you are pretty firmly in the Apple ecosystem, which is Apple's argument, to
Right.
be fair. This is like, just stay in this prison and we will care for you. 3 hots a cot and consistent, reliable video casting. That's the Apple way. But it's getting better, and some of these products are interesting. Okay, so that's the smart home stuff. You want to talk about Wi-Fi 7, or Alex, you want to talk about ATSC?
I will talk about ATSC 3.0
okay.
forever.
This is Alex's baby.
Yeah,
So you saw a pretty cool demo.
Yeah, I saw a really cool demo. ATSC 3.0 famously came out many, many years ago, and nothing happened because no one wanted to spend the money to upgrade all of their broadcast towers to ATSC 3.0 because it's expensive. And all you would get was like slightly higher quality. And they're like, well, why would I want to do that? That's dumb.
Yeah.
And so this company, Roxy, thinks it's figured out a way, which is that
It's Roxy with an I, by the way.
yeah, it's Roxy with an I.
Very important.
Very important.
ROXI. So it's
Good.
yeah. They also do like a music app, and so they're bringing that music app as a channel. And so right now, as we're recording, if you're in Vegas and you happen to have an ATSC 3.0 tuner on
Which
your
you
TV,
almost certainly don't.
you could if you recently bought an LG, but not this year's, just last
Right.
year.
If you're one of 3 people in Vegas to whom this applies.
Yeah, you can go and you can watch this channel, and then you can pause the music on the channel. You can skip tracks. You can choose other like stations within the channel itself, all in the channel, all broadcast. And I was like, okay, well, do you need Wi-Fi? And they said Wi-Fi will like increase the quality, the visual quality, but other like the interactivity, no, you don't need
Really?
it. It's all broadcast. And
That
I'm
is
like,
just not how I would expect that to work.
yeah, and I was like, oh, cool. They're claiming that they basically they called it a transitory app. Just a little tiny app that goes onto the TV and operates on the TV while you're on the channel. And then it leaves the short-term memory once you leave the channel.
So ATSC 3.0 increases the bandwidth.
Yeah.
It's a digital signal.
And
so
part of the
inside
spec
digital
has the
signal,
storage
They
in
can
there.
send you the bits to run a little baby app.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. How does it
Yeah.
send a signal back to the TV station if you want to like buy something?
Like it, so they're having to use AWS. They're going through servers, so
Okay.
so that all is happening. And the money side of it was my other question there. They figured out instead of using broadcast ads, which I guess don't make as much money, they can use streaming TV ads.
Okay.
So they can use a more lucrative ad on it. And they're partnering with Sinclair, who has like 40% of broadcast standard. Like they own 40% of
Yeah.
broadcast stations in the United States. They can't own any more because then they'd be a monopoly. So that's the only reason they haven't purchased more. They're partnering with it. They're super excited about it. And they're insisting that it's going to be on all, in every market that has ATSC 3.0
Wow.
by the end of this quarter.
Wow.
I'm really
That's
curious
fast.
about that because there's the 60% of markets that aren't completely owned by Sinclair. So, but they're like, no, we got this. So the guy was like very, very emphatic about that. So we'll see if that actually happens. But like, this is cool. I would love to be able to, you could think about it. Like Max could theoretically, not your child, but
I mean, I love her dearly, and every now and again, I regret naming her Max. But go ahead.
yeah, she could become a new broadcast channel. But like theoretically, Max could like be on this. Their examples were QVC or something like that.
course.
Like yeah, you
It's
could,
always there's always transactions.
yeah,
Buy
transaction,
stuff.
buy
Yeah.
stuff, choose the weather, skip to your actual weather on the station while still watching the news, that sort of thing. So like this has been a promise for a very long time, and nobody's actually like shipped it. And so that's why this is really, really exciting.
So this is like over-the-air interactive television.
Over-the-air interactive television.
No
and
internet required.
No internet required. And that's, I think, super crucial because there's so many people in the United States who don't have easy, cheap access to internet.
Yeah.
So, like, they don't get to go watch all the cool stuff we get to watch. And this would theoretically, if everybody adopted it, would give them more opportunities.
It is super cool. I think all of the interactive stuff, though, I wonder about because, like, on the streaming side of it, there's no reason that hasn't been possible for forever.
Yeah.
And still nobody has, like, Amazon cannot figure out how to do a good job of letting you be like, I would like to buy the chips in this ad, please.
Yeah.
Like, you're showing me a commercial for Fritos. Please allow me to buy these Fritos. Amazon doesn't know how to do that yet. And so the idea that they're all going to figure this out on...
But they're doing that with Prime Video. They're getting there.
They're
Yeah,
getting
yeah.
slowly.
Yeah.
I suspect that one, like
But this is my
right
point, it's
now,
like-
it's just going to be this Roxy music app. That's all
Right.
we're going to, or the Roxy music channel. That's all we're going to see. Maybe they could work with QVC, and QVC and them could put their heads together and figure this out.
Okay, but here's my question.
Yeah.
It's always QVC. It's
Yeah,
always
it's always
shopping.
QVC,
The
right?
other thing you could do with ATS 3.0 is improve the picture quality.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the part I think
Please,
is exciting.
someone improve
Like,
the
to your
picture
point about the
quality.
broadband stuff, the idea
Yeah.
that just you're going to be able to send what amounts to streaming services over broadband is really exciting for all the reasons you're talking
Broadcast.
about. Over broadcast, sorry,
Yeah.
is super exciting. And then also the fact that the picture quality could be better. But I just wonder if any of the stakeholders involved in this care enough about ATSC3 anymore to pick this fight.
mean-
It's like the Matter casting. Like, we should have done this a decade ago and everything would be better.
Sinclair needs it. Like, if Sinclair doesn't figure this out, they're done. 10 years
Fair.
from now, broadcast
Yeah.
TV is dead. Like last year, we did a lot of reporting about how people were watching less broadcast TV.
Right.
So it's on its last legs. It needs something. And if this can get those companies. And a lot of these streaming companies own broadcast networks, right? Like ABC
Yeah,
or
shoot.
Disney does,
Yep.
Paramount does. I believe Max owns a lot of cable channels. Like there is certainly opportunity for these people, and the fact that these people have figured, like this company has figured out
Yeah.
this tech.
This is lucrative spectrum.
Yeah.
You should be able to do something good with it.
Right.
Yeah.
Ideally, you increase the picture quality and stop broadcasting football
Instead,
in
you're going to
720p,
buy.
But instead, we're doing QVC.
Yeah.
It's great. All right, let's talk about some other standards. By the way, you should go watch just the glee on Alex's face.
Oh,
as
it's the best.
It's a video. Just watch the video. The way that I felt at the Sphere, Alex felt demoing ATS3.
I had such a good
ATSC
time.
3.0
People like
interactivity.
stopped to watch because I think I was just that excited.
Yeah.
People like
a little
coming
bit
into
later
the
today, I'm
booth.
going to go look at some party speakers,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm going to be the most
Yeah, you're
excited
gonna-
person to go through the party speaker tour.
They're going to just join you. People are just going to follow you, feel your enthusiasm.
And they're like, why? Just some other quick standards to talk about. Qi 2, that's the magnetic wireless standard that is basically MagSafe. It's here. There's some products.
Yeah, there's a
They're
lot of
cool.
it. It's the good news is less about like a specific product and more about it just feels like everybody has decided to embrace Qi 2, which is awesome. And it's going to be good.
Including Apple, which is like the big one.
Right, including Apple. Like we're going to start to see a lot of Android phones with it this year. Everybody thinks the new Pixel is going to have it. Like the momentum on this is super real and happening fast to the point where I think like, and we've talked a lot on this show about how cool it will be when we have a bunch of unified systems for accessories.
Yep.
And we're getting it with USB-C. We're getting it with Qi 2. Like it's going to be good things.
Yeah, so we've got some photos of docks from Satechi and other companies. There's a Belkin thing that works with Apple's new dock kit.
Yeah.
And so
I
you could-
absolutely forgot dock kit was a thing.
Yeah, Apple is like, we made an accessory standard, and you're so used to being like, and that'll be one company will try it, but now because of USB-C and Qi 2, companies are free to try it. It's like less costly in a way.
Yeah.
So Belkin made a camera dock. You put it on it, and dock kit motorize is the dock while you're in FaceTime mode, so it'll like follow you around. I don't know if that's cool. I think it's cool that the people made a thing.
Yeah. That part's
Is
really
this
cool.
anything? That's David.
Is this anything? I will say I hate the webcams that automatically move to keep you in the center of the
Yeah.
frame. It is the worst experience to be on a call with somebody while their camera is constantly moving every time they move their head.
But it's like, it's just pan
No.
and zoom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, or pan and scan, right?
But like if you watch something that is constantly panning and scanning,
Hey,
it sucks.
Hey, Bella Porch built an entire TikTok career off that effect, man. What are you doing?
Fair enough.
All right. Alex, what is going on with Wi-Fi 7? It's everywhere. It's like having a moment.
It's having a moment. It's faster.
Yeah. Okay. But like, it's faster because it can like do a thing, right? You can, like it can like use multiple radio channels at the same time.
It's faster. It can use multiple radio channels, and the big thing is that
Like, I don't know what other feature you want from Wi-Fi other than faster.
no one
faster.
wants anything else from Wi-Fi
It's
but
also a delivery service.
go fast. It's now interactive. You can connect to QVC with it and buy all sorts of things.
You can look at Max on it now.
Which one?
All of them. But yeah, I think the big thing is that it's going to be smarter about how it handles your traffic. So
Yeah.
if you're on the 5 gigahertz and it's getting jammed with stuff, it'll switch you over automatically to 6. And this is just but the main thing is it's faster. It's getting a lot faster. It's getting smarter about how it handles all those packets.
Yeah.
And you can probably you're going to find laptops with it now because a bunch of the laptops announced it to the point where I was like, oh, I guess it's just everywhere now. It's only the cheaper laptops don't have it, but anything like the XPS line has it.
Yeah.
Almost all of the gaming laptops that were announced have it. So
Is it just all the stuff with the new Intel?
yeah,
stuff?
it seems like
It's just all
primarily the new
happening?
Intel, but you still have to have the Wi-Fi chip, and that's expensive. And,
Right.
And so sometimes they're like, no, we're not going to put the new Wi-Fi in.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, so it's going to be available this year. I'm hesitant to tell people to go out and buy those Wi-Fi 7 routers. I think you can still.
Well, they've only just started certifying.
Yeah.
So you can buy them now, but they're uncertified, and the promise is that a software update will certify
Right.
them.
We just got, was it Wi-Fi 6E
Yeah.
last year or something? I only know that because I bought a Wi-Fi 6 router and then it was immediately then out 6E and I was very bitter about it.
That's how I feel too. I just bought new Eros and they're Wi-Fi 6 because I was like, who needs 6E? Like that's barely anything.
Yeah, now they're
and now
like
I'm looking at
7.
7. I'm like, I'm 2 generations behind
Yeah.
now.
So this is all this is like the Wi-Fi companies are doing what the TV companies did, where they just want to make you jealous every year.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I guess I better go spend $3,000 on a new router.
It's okay.
Yeah, I would
6G will
wait
fix it.
until there's the second generation of routers when things calm down. The
Yeah.
last thing you want is for there to be software instability in your network infrastructure.
Fair.
So like unless you need for some reason like a
I would say if
2
you
gigabit
live
per second Wi-Fi link,
if you live like in an apartment
which we all do.
by
say.
yourself, really small, your router's old, you see one of these like giant, because it's all going to be all like the giant gaming
Yeah.
routers. You want to spend $400 or $500 on that thing? You know, I'm not going to judge you. I've done that. Not for 7, but I've definitely done that. But otherwise, probably wait.
No,
Just
the
a little
Eero Max
longer.
7 is not $400 or $500. It's like
Oh no, I'm thinking like the gaming. The gaming ones are also like they usually start at 400 or 500, but then they immediately go up.
a single Eero Max 7 is $600 and the 3-pack is $1,700.
That's
Yeah, you
outrageous.
wait. Just wait.
Don't spend that much money.
Like
on a
it's
router.
fast, but is it
Ever.
that much faster than 6? As particularly because you're still going to be like hampered by the fact that you have to pay your ISP, who probably is going to give you garbage
Yep.
internet. So unless you're just moving a lot of big files on your Plex server, you're probably fine.
Yeah, my local network
Alex
is
is like,
sick
I'm pre-ordering a $1,700 router.
I haven't pre-ordered it, I swear.
But it's Wi-Fi 7 is here. It seems like it's going to be the next.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
6E seems very transitory.
Yes.
I also have a 6E network and I feel very annoyed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Next year.
Next year.
And then lastly, on the standards front, I will say the Verge team was the most irrationally excited about this. I don't know why, but Thunderbolt 5 is here. And we have a lot of pictures of USB-C
USB
ports with
ports.
stickers on them that indicate
Love
they
it.
support Thunderbolt 5. They're just pictures of USB-C ports. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't run pictures of USB-C ports here at The Verge. I am perhaps the most guilty of publishing photos of ports on our website and excitedly telling people that the future is here. I've done it a lot, but I'm just telling you, it's not even a different shape of port.
Yeah.
It's a USB-C port with a sticker on it. They're Thunderbolt 5. Thunderbolt 5 offers 240 watt charging, 120 gigabit per second data transfer, and will support monitors up to 540 hertz refresh rates on the new versions.
Can you
This
bring
report.
a
It's the good one.
240 watt
Yeah.
charger on a plane? That's like past FAA rules, right?
No, that's the battery size. You can't bring more than a 100 watt hour battery.
Okay, so this is fine.
But yeah, you can put two of those together. But you need it for some of the GPUs that you need to support 540 hertz refresh rates.
Yeah.
So this is just the next standard. There are some laptops here. Again, you can look at the photos of the ports with the stickers on them on the website. But Thunderbolt 5 is here. And Sean talked to the person at Intel responsible for Mr. Thunderbolt, who he referred to in print on our website as Mr. Thunderbolt.
Wow.
And
Sick.
I refused to learn his real name. Intel's Mr. Thunderbolt, when asked if Apple would support Thunderbolt 5, simply said to Sean, well, they support every other one. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
We also have a photo of our Thunderbolt 5 cable. It looks like a Thunderbolt cable. I'm telling you, like, our whole team is so excited. Like, there was like a hunt to get that first picture of a Thunderbolt
Look,
5
man,
port
like
on
2
our
weeks
website.
ago, we made a whole Vergecast episode about how stupid USB-C is. This is not stupid USB-C. This is the good USB-C.
Yeah.
So, like, we should be excited about
goes
this.
fast.
I'm excited about it. It's very good.
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a break. That was the standards lightning round here at the Vergecast episode 2 CES day 4.
Still unsponsored.
Well, no, we're here at the Kia Connected Home.
Yeah, that's true.
Very good. We'll be back. We got another car lightning round to come in David's rubric of things that are not screens. Cars is next. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. CES Vergecast 2 day 4. Month 1. Hour 12.
Year 2024.
Last little lightning round of CS coverage. This show, over the years, has become a car show. There's just cars everywhere. We're literally sitting in the Kia Connected Home. There's cars all around us. Every kind of car tech that you can think of is being demoed here. I saw a power steering pump on the show floor the other day, the Bosch booth.
Wow.
Sure.
They're like, here's a thing. And I was like, that's consumer technology, I suppose.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, consumers
It's a
love
thing
steering
you
wheels.
use. Yeah.
Literally every piece of the car is being recontextualized to be connected, to be smart, to be an EV. David, run us through some of the highlights here.
So that thing you said is actually kind of why I think the car stuff is really interesting, because it feels like we got a bunch of cars. There's like new versions of existing cars, right? There's a lot of that at CES every year. There's a lot of that this year. This year felt unusually also like we got a bunch of things that are shaped like cars that are barely cars.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think like the Sony Afeela, which is probably the first one we should talk about, is to me the closest version of that thing. This is like borderline not a car. It just looks like a car, but it's like a lounge area that runs places. But the car
Theoretically.
part seems to be the least important and least fleshed out part of this car. They've spent a lot of time thinking about the seats.
Yeah.
And that's about it. And I just think that's weird. We're in this like strange time with cars where like Honda has this very cool new concept series called Honda Zero. Hyundai and Kia are doing interesting stuff there all over the place. There's just like a Bugatti chilling on the floor for reasons that I don't totally understand. But it just feels like a lot of the cars here aren't cars.
I saw a tank.
There's a tank?
You saw a tank?
There's like a little, like tiny tank over.
There's a company
Sure.
here called Dodge Brothers with e-bikes, but they've bought a Dodge Challenger, and everyone's like, "What's this for?" And they're like, "We just brought it to get attention." It's like it's a very good.
Just a good car.
So the way I always thought about this for years was at CES we saw the future of the inside of cars, and then the Detroit Auto Shows in a few weeks here, and that's where we'll see the outside of cars.
Oh, I like that.
The thing that is, I think, not the case anymore, because I think what is happening in a big way is the outside cars are going retro. There's cool design stuff, like these Honda concepts are really cool. The inside of cars, that is what is selling the cars now. So if you just think, like, I love watching car reviews on YouTube. You watch Doug DeMuro, you watch Forest Auto reviews. Miles Summerall is on the MKBHD team. I saw him the other day. He makes great TikTok car reviews. Everyone's like flipping buttons and counting cup holders and like pushing, right? Like quirks and features
that's
is
where you
the
spend your
thing,
time.
because you're inside the car.
Yeah.
So that whole thing has moved to the Detroit, because that's how you're going to sell cars now, right? It's like,
And is that just because, especially as things go EV, like the experience of what it's going to be like to drive this thing just compresses to the point where like driving an EV
And
is
this
going to
is
be
the
like
idea,
driving an EV is going to be like driving
and
an
you
EV.
see all the car companies talk about mobility.
Yeah.
Because they're like, you're going to get in the car, it's going to drive you where you want to go, and in the meantime, you'll be awash in a sea of Sony IP. Just transacting. You'll be
Spider-Man just flipping
Spider-Man's
across the
flying
car.
around the car, and you're going to be watching our streaming service. If you could put Bravia in the Sony Afeela, I'll buy it. 80 megabits per second in the Sony
Neil, I
Afeela.
guarantee you that's a thing.
Do you think it's because I'm at CES? I've been wondering this all week. Bravia Core usage has to have dropped by like 200% because I'm not at home.
Who's watching Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Anyhow, so the Afeela is really interesting because I kind of get what Sony needs from Honda. Can you make us a car?
Right.
And what I've been wondering is like, what does Honda get from Sony? And the answer is a universe of screens and content. But it just doesn't feel like enough to sell me a car.
I mean, but also most of the car makers, not all, are garbage at like the software side of things. So
right, so that you see why Honda would turn to noted software experience provider Sony.
I mean, if you're garbage at it, it makes sense.
Can you imagine if the interface of the Sony Afeela is the same menu structure as like any Sony camera?
You just spend 45 minutes from every time you get
God.
in your car before you even go anywhere.
Terrific image quality.
You have to format your card before you can go into drive.
You brought the wrong format card. Sorry.
Yeah,
No driving.
it's actually memory sticks.
driving.
We're doing weird Sony memory formats. So that's Afeela, which is interesting. You look at the pictures, but it is very much. It's less about the car and more about will you watch a bunch of Sony content on these Sony screens?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the answer is, well, I have a phone, so no. And it's not. It's the most vaporware of the vaporware cars. Like this year, instead of a picture of it, you can like look at one.
Yeah, you
That's
you can sit in the passenger seat. now.
But
it's
not anywhere
still.
close.
I guess that's part of what is like leaving me cold with a lot of this stuff. Is it doesn't really feel like any of this is getting more real. Year after year. Like I think we're in a phase with car design that I think is not going to last forever, where everybody is just designing cars that are like the capital F future. You know what I mean? Like everything looks like a Blade Runner prop now, and that's fun. But eventually, we'll like start making EVs that look like cars again. Like that will happen. We'll come back to it.
We'll see.
You don't
Fingers
think so?
crossed.
You think we're just going to stay in this like
I think
the year 3000
it all
phase?
depends on autonomy. I think right now we're on the cusp of what feels like a really fun design renaissance in cars. Cars were real ugly for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like the angry robot car was just everywhere for a minute.
Yeah.
And now there's like some very cool, like smoothed out retro designs are all over the place. The Honda ones you're talking about, Hyundai and Kia. There's that Hyundai N concept that
Mm-hmm.
kind of looks like DeLorean. Like that stuff is really cool. That we're sitting above an EV9. People keep coming and looking at the EV9. You can just see like car companies are getting the new Prius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a surprisingly cool looking car.
Yeah.
Finally.
Dog slow, but surprisingly cool looking car. We're just on the cusp of what I think is a good moment for car design, and it's because you can the EV stuff lets you repackage cars and think about them in a different way,
Right.
and they want them to look different from what came before because they want to signal to consumers like these aren't just cars. And then on top of that, you might get to autonomy, which is a real coin flip on when that will happen. And then you get to really repackage the car into the thing that looks nothing like a car.
So I totally agree with that. But like this Honda concept is just the Batmobile. Like they just made the Batmobile.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going around.
I just think we might have swung the pendulum a little far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a concept. Like,
But now I'm looking at the picture of this and this thing's hot. So like
It's hot.
maybe I'm wrong.
It's
I was
hot.
like,
It's
I
a
would have
hot
had that
car.
on my wall when I was like 8.
Right.
Yeah.
But these are all concepts. They're all like out in the world, and you look at what's actually being announced at CES. It's like BMW put an LLM in the voice assistant. Okay, there's a bunch of AR features in the new BMWs. It's like why?
Yeah.
Right. Volkswagen is letting you talk to ChatGPT inside the car, which I am told people have just been doing anyway on like the streets of San Francisco.
I'm going to try it on my
alarming.
road trip.
Like someone told me yesterday, like more tech people in San Francisco are driving around just chatting to ChatGPT instead of listening to podcasts than you think.
Don't they have like siblings, parents, loved ones?
You
Well, this
could
makes me
call.
think of like every once in a while there's like an app that comes out that's like turn all of your emails into a daily podcast. And I'm like, who wants that? And then it's these people, it turns out.
Yeah.
This
I
is
just
where we
love the
are.
idea that people are getting out of their cars just woefully misinformed.
Yeah.
Just utterly be like, I know a lot of facts this robot made
But
up.
none of the numbers are
list
right.
of books that don't exist that they're going to read.
Exactly. They're like ready to read books that have never been written. On the flip side of that, there is a lot of just infrastructure here at CES. Intel, I think this can only be read as a threat. Intel had a whole keynote where they announced a bunch of AI stuff, and then the quote is, "We are bringing the AI PC to the car,
All right.
whether you like it or not." And Intel wants this to be a big market for them. You can see that they would like to bring
They
car
are
makers to
so
use their
late.
chips. They're very late. NVIDIA is very dominant and
Yeah.
all over the cars. But this notion that the car should be one sort of unified computer from the body control module all the way to infotainment stack, I think Intel sees as an opportunity. And then let's just end here. We should just talk about Will.i.am and Mercedes.
Do we have to?
So I was sent a video by a good friend of the Mercedes event, which I'm told was very expensive to produce. And Will.i.am comes out and he rapped a song about cars. He just did it.
Yeah, I love this
And
for
then the
him.
feature they announced is that this is actually cool. I don't know if you've seen this video or any demos of it. It's an interactive musical experience in the car. So it's like playing a track, and Will.i.am obviously has chosen all the samples. And if you speed up, the track gets more exciting.
Oh, I don't want that.
And it feels like it's just going to make you drive really fast.
I was like, my car just screaming at me as I drive down the road.
Have you seen the movie Baby Driver?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the thing in that movie that's so cool is the music is matched up to what's going on. So like he's steering on beat and drifting on beat, and it rips, dude.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
so fun the whole time. And
Can
I'm
you
like, if I
imagine-
could do that.
You watch that, you watch Fast and Furious, you get in this car, immediate accident. Like you're going 100
no
miles per
question.
hour straight out. You're like, I can drift around this corner in
And
my
it's just
neighborhood.
Will.i.am yelling at you the
Yes.
whole way home.
So it's the MBUX sound drive or MBUX sound drive. It links the music that you're listening to is driving. So it's a bunch of tracks, a bunch of samples, and things like energy recuperation, acceleration, steering, braking, and turning, all linked to what is being played. And Will.i.am refers to this as the automotive orchestra.
Okay.
Cool.
I love it.
There was a thing a bunch of years ago, and it's possible I'm going to get all of the details of this wrong, where I think it was Spotify did a thing with Tiesto that had basically like adaptive Tiesto songs to your workout. So that like the faster you were moving, the faster Tiesto would go.
Yeah.
And I tried it out, and it was pretty cool because it like keeps up with the beat as you're running, and you fall into the right pace. 100% everyone is going to crash their cars as soon as they start using.
Well,
Yeah.
so there's other things that happen too. For example, if it's raining and you turn on your windshield wipers, it'll play lo-fi beats at you. so you can drive home sadly in the rain.
So you drive slow.
I was in love once. In my Mercedes-Benz.
If you get in the car and you like roll into the McDonald's drive-through, like what does it start playing?
Mercedes wants SoundDrive to be an open music platform so that any musician create their own auditory soundscape for driving using the MBUX operating system.
Can you?
This is like why I'm at CES.
Yeah.
I want to be very clear. This specific nonsensical idea with will.i.am, just mash it all. I'm surprised they haven't put the words AI in this in any way, shape, or form.
I'm just imagining being a kid in this car. You know, when you'd sit in the back and you'd like, when it's raining on your car, and you're just thinking really heavy thoughts in the back of the car as a little kid. But now you'll have this soundtrack going with it, like the lo-fi soundtrack.
I just wanted to like play me depressing music while I like shove Taco Bell in my face on a long road trip. Like what's the vibe there?
One hand on the wheel, tacos in the other hand.
Like the one where will.i.am is like, you got broken up with. Dude. Like, you can buy a taco and a burrito. You know what I'm saying? Like that crunch wrap alone ain't gonna take this home. We've all been there. All right, that's the Vergecast Day 2, Episode 2, Day 4 at CES 2024. Right?
Yeah.
Seems good.
It was a good CES.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say it was
We had
good,
fun.
and I got to go sit in the Sphere, an almost religious experience, capped off by an almost religious movie. Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Kia for letting us use our space through these shows. Thank you. The whole Verge team has just been killing it this week. Please read the site.
Check out our Best of CES stuff.
The best
which is
CES,
up as you're hearing this.
It's coming right now. It's going up. TikTok channel is full of really fun videos. CS is really fun every year. It's like a great way to start the year with just a bunch of tech. So it's been really fun. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you next week. Rock and roll.